True that the Right to Commission is the Right to Information Commission is under the Ministry of Information, but at the Ministry of Information, that's why we have the Information Service Department.
Right.
That is in charge of general information distribution within the civil service. So the Right to Information Commission is still going to exist. The responsibility will just be assigned to a different ministry.
Okay.
I've heard it's communications, but government have not clearly communicated that yet. So the ministry that is going to be the responsible ministry for that commission will continue to carry out its function.
Okay.
But for that particular Ministry of Information, my personal view is that it is totally a waste of government resources.
Right.
When the other ministries' PR sections can do the same job that the ministry
is doing.
Yes.
Well, okay. I mean, that's great. Let me bring in Imoro into the conversation. Now, Imoro is a political strategist from the University of Ghana, and he's joining me in studio here. So, Imoro, good morning.
Yeah, good morning.
How are you doing?
Fine, thank you. How's it?
Yeah, I'm doing great. Now, we're having a conversation on Mahama's reduction of ministries, I beg your pardon.
Okay.
And Abiel is making the point that it's a step in the right direction. Yeah. What do you have to say about that?
Yes, so I think it's in line with his campaign promise that he's going to run an lean and efficient government. So I'm not surprised that he has been able to reduce the number of ministries from 30 to 23. I think that is in the right direction. But we are not just looking at the reduction per se, but we are looking at the cost implications.
Right.
So let's do the mathematics and then put the cost together. Okay, so the 7 that have been taken out, how were they run? How was their budget?
Actually, according to the CI, it was 29, not 30.
Okay, so 29.
Right.
Okay, so and some have been abolished or scrapped. Okay, so we are going to look at the cost implications as to whether the nation has been saved some money.
Right.
Of course, the budget allocation to some of these ministries that have been scrapped, as to whether that money is significant enough to be able to go into other ventures. But whether there is a reduction or not, at the end of the day, we have 30 that he's going to work with. Okay, so if he's going to work with 30, and then going into the elections, he was talking about a cost efficiency, running a lean government and all those things, and then you are coming to 30. And then he also promised he's going to run with system ministers. So if you are going to run with system ministers, and so far we have about 30, and then you are going to have deputy ministers, and then you are going to have regional ministers. We are clocking somewhere 60, 62. And I think that is in the line of what his campaign promised. But nonetheless, one of the critical ministers that was scrapped that we think that it has raised a lot of issues is the Ministry of Information, as you just mentioned. As to whether that ministry is important or not is another conversation altogether. Right. But for me, if you look at the agencies and the department under the Ministry of Information, previous government have used the Ministry of Information as a propaganda tool. And that is why a lot of experts are calling for its scrapping. But it is important for the citizens to know the policies of government. Right. And that is why the information ministry exists, to communicate the importance or the policies of government to the citizenry. And then you look at agencies like the Information Service Department, very, very critical, because they are supposed to go on the ground, the grassroots, and communicate government policies. But because of previous government activity, will use the information minister as a propaganda tool, and because of that. But if you are going to offload that responsibility to another minister, for say, the Minister of Communication. And this is not the first time. In 2013, when John Mama came in first, he actually scrapped the Minister of Information. And then added it to what? The Minister of Communication. Which Dr. Manuma was in charge. Okay, but in my opinion, I think that the Minister of Communication, the activities and the agencies under the Minister of Communication is very enormous. And to add the Minister of Information duty and function to that, it will be very overwhelming. So at a point, you will not be able to give a clear-cut line of communication.
Right.
Okay, because we are going to look at, but let's also look at if the new government is going to have maybe what you say, the director of communication at the presidency. As to whether they are going to handle government communication is another matter. Okay, but at the end of the day, we are looking at how government is going to communicate its policies to the citizen. Yeah, I think my colleague in the other line mentioned that various ministries have PROs and spokespersons. Yes, they will be able to do the communication based on their sector. You understand?
Yeah.
But in the collective, you need a particular ministry to be able to give exactly the point.
Government.
Exactly the point.
Yeah. Well, Abel, so those are Imoro's thoughts as well on the same conversation. Now, but Bright Simmons, I want us to stay on this conversation for a few minutes. Then we move. Abel, you want to say something?
Yes. I mean, not to, of course, we can disagree to agree. There's an important point that must be made. The fact that you have 23 ministries does not suggest that automatically you have 23 deputy ministers. So if the calculation is done and say, 23 ministries, if you look with regional ministers and then deputies, then maybe to exceed the 60. That, I think, is a hasty generalization. Because even before, we used to have deputy regional ministers, but that has also been taken out of the conversation now. So it tells you maybe it depends on the ministry. There might not be a deputy minister for some of the ministries, and maybe we'll see that when the president fully constitutes his ministries. So if we make, if we anticipate that it might increase more, the promise, the social contract with the people of Ghana is 60. Anything beyond 60, you've broken that particular promise.
Right.
Issues of trust, because the president campaigned on trust. So if you go beyond some of the things you've said, then the people, the citizens cannot take your word.
But if the president is hovering around 61, 62, I think it's still in line. It's not overboard. It will not be a bloated government.
They'll still go at him. People will come at him.
Yes. And then also on the issue of cost, maybe efficiency, and whether cutting the ministries also means you are doing a lot for government or not. I think it is not finished. Cost-cutting measures in terms of governance is broad.
Right.
We've one of the issues that have come up from it is the money that are lost to misappropriation, embezzlement, among others. If you fill those loopholes within the bigger government architecture, then you save a lot of money. A lot of the issues also, monies are lost in procurement. That has nothing to do with the size of the government.
Right.
So it is how the government is going to tackle those issues. Of course, if you look at the departments and other agencies, that is where a lot of numbers go to. A lot of numbers in terms of people, and then the creation of units and particular agencies that people go there and they are doing nothing. They don't work. Right. Productivity is very low. So it is at those MDAs and also at the MMDA level that how government is going to tackle some of those issues that would give a broader impression of whether cost-cutting measures will really be effective. But again, of course, if you look at the ministries that have been cut, the Ministry of Parliamentary Affairs, what really is good? Because the majority leader and the leader of government business was the Minister for Parliamentary Affairs. And you don't need another office like the Ministry of Parliamentary Affairs to execute that particular role of liaison between the executive and the legislature.
Right.
So completely needless. But people have asked, how much is it? Even if it is 1 Ghana cedi,
it can still do something.
It can still do something.
Right. Okay. So I think that is the argument Bright Simmons of Imani Africa, the vice president. I think he said, he spoke extensively. I mean, he wrote extensively about it, that Mohammed's ministry cuts is just driven by sentiment and not efficiency. And I think he raised the argument about the amount of money these ministries that have been scrapped are taking. And then he also highlighted some of the ministries. He talked, not ministries, some of the state-owned enterprises like GNPC and all of that, and the amount of money those entities actually spend. And he argued extensively about, but we wouldn't go so much into that. Let's pick our next story because of time. Mahamas once again, one more time, said that it won't be business as usual. You will be held accountable. He spoke to his his appointees, potential appointees at the National Thanksgiving yesterday. What are your thoughts on that? Ibrahim Uru, yeah.
Very, very, very important. He's saying this because of the experience he's coming with. Okay. Right. We all remember between 2013 and then 2017 when President Mahama was president, we saw the excesses and the allegations of corruption and the misbehavior of some government appointees. So having the opportunity to go back into position for 8 years, sitting back and then righting the wrongs is not going to be business as usual.
Right.
And he has already hit the ground running. So the assurance is that any potential appointee who have, quote unquote, their mentality of coming to a mass wolf is not going to be this administration. And I think that is the caution he's giving out to. And I think a lot of young people will go into government, but as to whether the youthful exuberance is going to, they are going to carry it away by the youthful exuberance, it's another matter altogether. So if it is an opportunity to serve your country, if you are given the opportunity, then it is important for you to serve diligently.
Right.
But if you misbehave, as he said, it's not going to be business as usual.
Yeah, and Abel, what do you have to say about the same subject? Abel?
Well, thank you very much.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you very much once again. Yes, you know, the concept of the philosopher king in ancient Greek literature comes very close to this particular issue, because what experience are you coming with? What skills are you coming with? What knowledge in the particular area are you coming with? And we all know Muhammad's journey in the Fourth Republican dispensation that we find ourselves. He's been there at the beginning as an assemblyman, rising through the ranks as an MP, deputy minister, vice president, former president, and now president. That is knowledge, vast knowledge, skills, and experience that he brings to the presidency in his second term. And for me, that is telling in how he has even begun his new administration.
Right.
So the issue of holding people accountable is going to be, in fact, one of the reasons why people perceive the Mahama government as corrupt was because he allowed issues of corruption to be investigated, issues of corruption to travel the length within the state institutions as they were supposed to be done.
Yeah.
And at the point, appointees of his administration were prosecuted. Some were sacked. Some had to refund money. And the thinking of citizens at the time were that because a president allowed these things to happen, then the administration was corrupt. And I think that with hindsight, we've all come to see that that particular thinking was wrong. Maybe because of what we've seen in the last 8 years.
Right.
So he has a track record of the issue he's talking about, that nobody is going to be allowed to have a free day. He has said it that if you want to make money, of course, we've heard some of those rhetoric before. But what is reassuring for me is that he has done it before in his first administration.
Right.
And if the last 8 years was for knowledge acquisition and learning and endearing himself to the system that has given him so much wisdom that the people of Ghana has given him this opportunity again, then he's going to do more than what he did in the first administration.
Right.
That is going to inure to the general, population, the benefit of the general population.
But I personally like how he keeps sounding the warning, because it looks like almost every public opportunity he gets, he tells the people that this is it. Yes. This is what you face.
Yes.
I mean,
yes. So that when it comes, it shouldn't be a surprise to you.
To you, yes.
So I think it's a good
thing.
Sign.
Yeah, and I think it gives a lot of goodwill to the people of Ghana. I mean, people begin to trust the government to really work. Now, there's another story.
Ralph,
yeah.
Yes, I was going to add that governance in itself is an act.
Of course.
You must understand.
Right.
Exactly.
You must understand the mood of the citizens that you are leading, or the
That's true.
that you are leading. And sometimes, of course, there are certain things that you might want to tweak that will not, the citizens might not generally be happy. Good. And I mean, but it is up to the government or the president in the manner in which he communicates, the manner in which you carry the people along, the manner in which you let the people understand that these are important. If they don't go well, hold me accountable.
Yeah.
I think with that, there's trust, and people generally will feel, allow the government knows what it's doing.
Right.
Let's see the outcome and everything. And so I think that also from his background as a communication specialist, and as he said earlier, his experience, being a president before, being in opposition for 8 years, I think he's learned so many things.
Yeah.
And these administration failure or successes are going to hinge on Mohammed's own doing.
That's true, right? Okay, so you also mentioned the National Cathedral. I think it's a conversation that we haven't had in a long time. Nobody has said anything about it in a long time, but he spoke about it yesterday, and he said that it can be built at a reasonable cost without state funds. I mean,
yes, I think I agree with you.
We have very limited time, so let's just
So nobody is against the building of the cathedral, but the question people have raised is to whether to pump mega natural government resources into building a personal promise to God. That is another issue that we are looking at. So if at the end of the day there is consensus that okay, let's find another source of revenue or money to be able to complete this project, why not? Government are for it, but using state resources to be able to put up a cathedral in honor of a personal promise to God is something Ghanaians were against. And I think if you are able to find the resources not from government coffers, then why not? Yes.
Okay, great. So, Abel, then let's touch finally on the story from City, which says that Akufo-Addo statue at Effiang Kwanta completely vandalized. What are your thoughts on that? Do you think that this is something to comment or not?
I don't really know. I mean, you see, this particular issue, I think conversations were there that this was going to happen. This was going to happen, and I think that it's a learning point for our governance. Of course, our fourth republic, 3 decades, a few years. Our democracy is relatively young. We are still consolidating our democracy, but I think that governments coming and those that have gone, we must all understand that certain things cannot be done. Certain things simply cannot be done. For example, that building that was very unnecessary in the first place. Sometimes the best reward for leadership is when the leader has left the scene. Let the people themselves realize that this leader did something, and then you put something up. But when something is put up in a manner that is political or politically motivated to reconscientize people's minds in a different way. Right. If the people do not accept it, then this will be the result. Of course, whatever, I don't know whether it's resources that went into it or it is the resources of the chiefs and people of just the chiefs and people of the Western region. If it is their resources and people have broken it down, I think that also has issues of criminal implications.
Yeah.
And that the police can look into.
Right.
But I'm just saying that governments must learn
That's
the
true.
act of governance and how to go about some of these things.
Right.
And know that sometimes you are not going to stay in power forever. You can't impose certain things on the people. Allow the people to reward you. And when they reward you themselves, nobody will go thinking about assigning a police. Because the reason why that statue have survived now is because under the previous administration, they assigned security to be watching over a statue.
Right.
And that in itself was very troubling. But if I can touch on before we go, the National Cathedral issue.
Maybe you can speak on the investigation, because President Mahama says he's going to launch an investigation. Maybe you can touch on that, and then Mr. Imoro also comes in for like a minute or two, and then we're out.
Yes. I think the president mentioned it when he was campaigning that he was going to allow for forensic audit of the entire project, and then whatever the conclusions are, then. But I think we must also be truthful to ourselves. At the beginning or the conceptual stage of this particular project, a lot of people spoke against it, even including those in the Christian community, that it was not needed. It was very unnecessary, and that if the church felt that there was a need for a national cathedral, the church could come together and have that conversation. And government could step in. So I think it's true. And then there were those who also argued that there's nothing wrong with government initiating the conversation and then bringing the church on board. So these two conversations were had. Now, for those that felt that it was needed, they are the people that went ahead to suggest that the location, if you look at the project, where it was being sited, it is not about siting it in the center of the city that mattered, but citing it as a place that was already choked. And a cathedral that maybe at state functions, the number of people that you'll be expecting, or if there's a function there, the number of people that you'll be expecting in that particular area. And if you consider that it was going to be on days, working days, what would be the situation within that particular enclave? So those were some of the concerns. But for the investigation, it's very welcome. $58 million, I think, the latest figure that we are all aware of that has gone into it. And at its particular stage, I think people must pay for the costs that have gone into it. But we can only get to know those that are responsible if a thorough investigation is done. So the investigations are welcome.
They're welcome. Very, very important. All right, so let me take final thoughts from, because of time, Imoro.
So there's a call for investigation because public funds went into the construction of the cathedral. And eventually at a point it was abandoned. And then people were still working there and then taking money, and when the project was not ongoing. So I think that contrary to the initial promise that it's going to be a private investment that is going to it, public funds went into it, and therefore there's a call for investigation, and I think it's in the right direction.
It's in the right direction.
Yes, thank you.
So gentlemen, thank you so much for joining me. Imoro is a political strategist from the University of Ghana, and Abel, who joined me over the phone lines, is a policy and governance enthusiast and also a social communicator. Gentlemen, thank you very much. I hope to have you again, hopefully tomorrow, and then we can go into some more other news items. So thank you. You still tuned in to Business Breakfast on Zed 101.9 FM, and up next is the business news. And my colleague Samuela Enchi is going to give us all the updates in the world of business.
Stay tuned to your lifestyle, leisure, and business radio.
You're tuned in to Zed 101.9 FM, your lifestyle, leisure, and business radio.
Hello and welcome to the business news segment on Business Breakfast on Zed. Coming up, Guta president calls for strategic action to maximize after benefit. Increased demand for treasury bills as government exceeds auction target. And on the international scene, UK internet safety laws under scrutiny amid calls for reform. I am Samuela Inchi. Let's settle in for the details. The president of the Ghana Union of Traders Association, GUTA, Dr. Joseph Obeng, has stressed the urgent need for Africa to address key challenges and adopt strategic measures to maximize the potential of the African Continental Free Trade Area. Speaking in an exclusive interview with Zed Business, he outlined the critical barriers impeding intra-African trade and proposed solutions to unlock the continent's economic potential. Dr. Obeng pointed out that intra-African trade remains alarmingly low at just 15% compared to other regions of the world. He attributed this to limited value addition and production capacity across the continent.
We have to evaluate our sources and then our challenges. And by now, I believe that we still lack information as businesses. And I also believe that if we say that we do intra-trade of 15%, then we should find why we are doing intra-trade around 15% only for a continent like Africa. I've always been saying that the people of Africa consume finished goods and not raw materials. It means that we have to add value and make value addition here in our continent, produce more and produce it abundantly and competitively. If you're able to do that and able to also communicate what we produce to the rest of the continent for us to know, because we know most of the business people know the other continents more than the very continent that we came in. We know the Asians, we know the Americas, and then we know the Europe more than what we do. So it's very important that we make communication flow. And then the bureaucracy involved in the continental free trade area, the rules of origin, the tariff systems and all that have to be fast-tracked. And then anything that is creating the hurdle be removed.
And that was the president of the Ghana Union of Traders Association, Dr. Joseph Obeng. Away from that, investor interest in treasury bills surged during the latest government auction, with total funds raised reaching 8.07 billion Ghana cedis, surpassing the initial target of 5.2 billion Ghana cedis by a substantial 55.36%. This reflects a growing appetite for short-term government securities. Tessa Capital brings us more.
Good morning and welcome to a recap of the markets brought to you by Tessa Capital Limited. Primary market investor demand for treasury bills increased in the recent auction as compared to the previous week. The government raised 8.07 billion cedis, exceeding its 5.2 billion cedis target. This represents a 55.36% oversubscription rate. During Friday's auction, all bids for the 91-day, 182-day, and 364-day treasury bills were fully accepted. Yields increased for all tenors, with the 91-day treasury bill increasing by 15 basis points to 28.34%. The 182-day treasury bill rose by 5 basis points to 28.96%, and the 364-day treasury bill increased by 2 basis points to close at 30.18%. Secondary markets trading volumes on the Ghana fixed income market depreciated by 6.2% over the week, reaching 3.5 billion cedis. Treasury bills dominated the market activity, accounting for 64.79% of total volumes. Sell buyback trades made up 18.83%. New Government of Ghana notes and bonds contributed 9.45%, and corporate bonds made up 6.93%. The Ghanaian cedi saw changes against the US dollar, British pound, and the euro over the week. It remained the same against the US dollar. It appreciated by 1.60% against the British pound and 0.52% against the euro. The cedi closed at mid-rates of 14 cedis 75 pesos per dollar, 17 cedis 98 pesos per British pound, and 15 cedis 16 pesos per euro. Indicative rates on the open market showed the cedi closing at 14 cedis 70 pesos on the dollar, 18 cedis 20 pesos on the pound, and 14 cedis 98 pesos for the euro. During the review period, the GSE Composite Index marginally increased by 0.29%. This rise was driven by the gains in the share prices of Cal Bank, ETI, New Gold, and MTN Ghana. The gainers, Cal, increased by 5.71% for Cal, 3.23% for ETI, and 3.05% for New Gold, whilst MTN increased by 0.40%. Cal Bank closed at 37 pesos per share, ETI 32 pesos per share, New Gold 402 cedis 40 pesos per share, and MTN Ghana at 2 cedis 51 pesos per share. Republic Bank Ghana Limited lost 9.09% to close the week at 60 pesos. The GSE Composite Index closed the week at 4,902.87 points, reflecting a year-to-date return of 0.29%. Market activity, as indicated by volumes traded, decreased by 59.09% to 467,238 shares, with a total value of 12.6 million cedis. We expect that financial stocks and the ICT sector will play pivotal roles in the index's performance in the coming week. This brings our review to an end, and from all of us at Tessa Capital, make it a great day. Visit us online at tessacapital.com or call us on 050-154-6859 for more information. Tessa Capital, grow your wealth.
And that was some updates from Tessa Capital. On the international scene, the UK's internet safety laws have come under renewed scrutiny, with critics labelling them as inconsistent and inadequate. Concerns have been raised by campaigners and officials following the tragic case of Molly Russell, a 14-year-old who died by suicide after encountering harmful online content. The Online Safety Act, enabled in 2023, aims to hold technology companies accountable for content on their platforms. However, its effectiveness has been questioned, with critics suggesting that significant gaps remain. Key elements of the legislation, such as removal of legal but harmful content, were excluded for adult users after facing opposition. Instead, the law requires platforms to provide tools for users to filter undesirable content while continuing to protect children from harmful material. The decision to exclude legal but harmful content for adults was met with mixed reactions. While proponents argued it safeguarded free speech, others, including campaigners, claimed it weakened protections. Critics have also pointed to shifting industry practices as a growing challenge. Tech industry leaders such as Meta's Mark Zuckerberg and Elon Musk of X have adopted more relaxed approaches to content moderation. Recent decisions, including Meta's removal of fact-checking initiatives, have intensified concerns over the prioritization of safety on social media platforms. In response to ongoing criticism, government officials have signaled an openness to revisiting the legislation. The Technology Secretary highlighted the uneven nature of the current framework, describing it as an unsatisfactory foundation for addressing emergent safety challenges. While no immediate changes to the law are planned, ministers are focused on leveraging existing powers and monitoring industry trends to address potential risks. The government is also committed to imposing strict sanctions on companies failing to comply with the law. It aims to ensure platforms enforce age-appropriate safeguards and maintain transparency regarding content management. Let's take a recap of the headlines. Ghouta President calls for strategic action to maximize after benefit. Increased demand for treasury bills as government exceeds auction target. And on the international scene, UK internet safety laws under scrutiny amid calls for reform. And that will be all for business news on Z101.9 FM. You can visit www.zmultimedia.com for more. You can visit ZFMGH on Instagram, Facebook and X, and Z Multimedia on TikTok and YouTube. I am Samila Inchi. Thanks for listening, and up next is Sports Flash with Lukman Evergreen Moomin.
Stay tuned to your lifestyle, leisure, and business radio.
The stage is set for something special.
It is time to go racing.
Garnacho! Oh, wow! Oh, wow! LeBron James with no regard for human life. You couldn't write a script like this.
Here's Metzer. This is positive. Williams.
Kudus! The Korean joy did not last for long.
Oh my gosh, Kudus.
Step back for Partey. Oh, yes, Thomas Partey!
Hello, good morning. It's time for Sports Flash on Z101.9 FM. My name is Lukman Evergreen Moomin. And of course, it was cup competitions all around the globe. Arsenal could go another season trophyless after their FA Cup exit. Meanwhile, Barcelona taught Real Madrid another footballing lesson, while Accra House of Oak and Kumasi Asante Kotoko are through to the last 16 of the Ghanaian FA Cup. The Australian Open has also started, and we also have results from the NBA games that were played last night. All right, we begin with results from the FA Cup matches that were played in Ghana. Holders in Swatriman FC have been booted out of the FA Cup after losing to Young Apostles on penalties. Kumasi Asante Kotoko advanced to the last 16 after beating Relation FC 2-0. Accra House of Folk, their rivals, have also progressed following a 3-0 victory against Home Stars at the University of Ghana Sports Stadium. The biggest casualty of the round of 32 was Accra Lions losing to lower tier side FC Nania on penalties. Mediama SC defeated Onsuom FC on penalties, with Karela United securing a big win over TF Exponential. These are the teams that have qualified for the last 16. There are 8 teams from the Premier League and 8 teams from the lower tier sides. Kumasi Asante Kotoko, Accra House of Folk, Midiama SC, Gold Stars, Brekum Chelsea, Bechem United, Karela United, and Young Apostles have qualified from the Premier League. And to the lower tier sides, Atram Devisa, Northern City, Park Academy, True Democracy, Techiman, Liberty Youth, FC Nania, 11 Wise, and Golden Cakes have all qualified for the last 16 of the Ghanaian FA Cup. Meanwhile, in transfer news, former Adriana Star striker Isaac Mensah is on the brink of joining Ghanaian football powerhouse Kumasi Asante Kotoko after successfully completing his medical. The 25-year-old forward, who recently parted ways with Libyan club Al Ahly, is set to reinforce Kotoko's attacking options in the ongoing transfer window. Now, President John Dramani Mahama has renamed the Ministry of Youth and Sports to Ministry of Sports and Recreation as part of an institutional restructuring by government. In the exercise of the President's powers under the Constitution, Mahama's decision effectively ends the union of sports and youth sectors as one ministry. Vice President of the Ghana Athletics Association, Charles Osei-Sibe, has urged the new government to extend attention to other sports, especially athletics. Now, he believes that other sports deemed as less known have the potential of putting Ghana in the spotlight.
So it is a fact that athletics is a matter of all. It is also a fact that internationally, athletics has given Ghana the glory we want. What has eluded the nation is that Olympic medal. So I have said that it is time for us to seek for gold and glory. Now, if we want to seek for gold and glory, we need to change the narrative. We need to change the way we have done things. We need to have a national orientation where everybody, including the presidency, will understand what sport is about. Once we begin to understand what sport is about, then we will begin to consciously invest in sport. For those of us at athletics, we feel that every time we have been called upon by the country, we deliver. And I can confidently say that in the last 10 years, athletics has delivered more than any sporting discipline in this country. Unfortunately, athletics does not get the kind of support it deserves. And I feel that it is important for this government to invest in track and field.
Well, that was Charles Osei-Sibe speaking about the new governments and how they should invest in athletics. Now to Ghanaian players abroad, Black Stars captain Andre Ayew scored for the second week running in the French League 1 for Le Havre after finding the back of the net in the game against RC Lens. The veteran forward opened the scoring at the Stade Ocean after heading home 8 minutes into the game. However, the visitors RC Lens fought back to claim victory and hand Le Havre another defeat in the campaign. Kamaldeen Suleimana scored his first goal for Southampton in 19 months to help them advance in the English FA Cup after beating Sunderland. Antoine Semenyo was also on target for AFC Bournemouth in their 5-1 thrashing of West Bromwich Albion. Now, two results from the English FA Cup. Joshua Zirkzee scored the winning penalty as 10-man Manchester United beat Arsenal in a thrilling encounter to reach the fourth round of the FA Cup. Bruno Fernandes opened the scoring for the Red Devils before Gabriel Magalhaes leveled for the Gunners to force the game to penalties, where United goalkeeper Alte Bayinde, who had earlier saved a penalty during the game, became the hero in the sport kicks. Now here is the Turkish goalkeeper.
I'm feeling great, and because we deserve this game, and then it's very difficult if you are playing a good team, and if you need to play 10 players, if it's really difficult, but we are getting better, I can say. And then last game against Liverpool, we did very well, and today we won this game. And we are believing if we will believe all team together, we can do more things because we have a good manager. He's every time helping us. I need to say thank you for him because today he trusts me. He was giving me a T-shirt, and then I was so happy. I have a patient. I'm working hard in the Carrington, and then if you are a goalkeeper, it's difficult mentally, and then you have to be ready every second, every day, every time, because I think Premier League is a
Well, that was Manchester United goalkeeper Alte Bayinde speaking after his penalty-saving heroics against Arsenal. Now, still with that game, Arsenal manager Mikel Arteta has praised his players despite their FA Cup exit.
Incredible how you don't win the game. That's basically, to sum up, the dominance, the superiority in relation to your opposition, and everything that we did to try to win the game. And that's it. That we didn't deserve. We didn't get what we deserve, clearly. But there is an element that is about putting the ball in the back of the net. It did once, and with the amount of situations, chances, penalties that we had, we didn't. And we go home extremely sad. But I cannot be prouder of my players, on the team, individual, collectively, what they produce. Like on Wednesday against Newcastle, against two top teams, it is incredible. But we haven't got rewarded, and that's the downside to it.
Yeah, so that was Arsenal manager Mikel Arteta speaking there. In other results, Liverpool defeated Accrington Stanley by 4-0. Manchester City thumped Salford 8-0. Chelsea strolled to a 5-0 victory over Morecambe. Tottenham Hotspur and Leicester City are also through to the fourth round after victories over Tamworth Rovers and QPR respectively. The other Premier League sides that have advanced in the FA Cup are AFC Bournemouth, Nottingham Forest, Newcastle United and Southampton. Well, the draw for the fourth round has already been done, and Plymouth Argyle have been drawn at home to 8-time winners Liverpool in the FA Cup fourth round. Argyle, bottom of the English Championship, defeated Premier League side Brentford 1-0 on Saturday in the biggest shock of the weekend. Now, this is Brentford manager Thomas Frank. He had to praise Plymouth Argyle for their resilience.
Congratulations to Plymouth. I think they deserve to win. I think they put a lot of effort into it. I think they defended brilliantly. I think they ran hard. And they scored a really good goal from the player that we knew could score the goal. And we, of course, prepared to take, not we take her out, but we knew that he got a very good shot outside the 18-yard box. So yeah, congratulations, well deserved to Plymouth.
Well, that was Brentford manager Thomas Frank praising Plymouth Argyle. Now, League One leaders Birmingham will host Newcastle United, while fellow 30th side Exeter will play at home to Nottingham Forest. Holders Manchester United, who beat Arsenal on penalties to reach the fourth round, will play 2021 winners Leicester City. There are three other All-Premier League ties, with Tottenham Hotspur travelling to Aston Villa. Brighton will be playing Chelsea, with AFC Bournemouth travelling to Everton. Manchester City will visit Leyton Orient or Derby County, while Crystal Palace travel to League Two side Doncaster Rovers. The ties will be played over the weekend of February 8. Now to the Spanish Super Cup. Barcelona came from behind to beat Real Madrid in an incident-packed Spanish Super Cup final in Saudi Arabia. Kylian Mbappe gave Real Madrid the lead with a fantastic solo goal. However, Lamine Yamal leveled for Barcelona in the 22nd minute before Hansi Flick's side took command with 3 more goals before halftime. Now, Rafinha added the 5th after the break before Barcelona were reduced to 10 men, but Rodrigo's free kick could not spark a comeback from Los Blancos. And in transfer news, Borussia Dortmund have opened talks with to sign Chelsea defender Renato Vega on an initial loan deal. The Blues would prefer a permanent sale should the Portugal international leave, but an obligation to buy at the end of the season could satisfy their demand. And in tennis, the Australian Open has already started, and German second seed Alexander Zverev began his latest bid for a Grand Slam title with a comfortable straight set victory over French wildcard Lucas Poire. The 27-year-old, who reached the semi-finals in Melbourne last year, cruised into the second round with a 6-4, 6-4, 6-4 win. There were wins for Kei Nishikori and Casper Ruud as well on Sunday. And to results in the NBA, the Detroit Pistons defeated the Toronto Raptors. Timberwolves, the Minnesota Timberwolves were also beaten by the Memphis Grizzlies. The game between LA Clippers and the Charlotte Hornets have been postponed because of the fires in Los Angeles. Now, the Portland Trail Blazers were defeated at home by the Miami Heat. The LA Lakers, their game has also been postponed, and the New York Knicks were winners over the Milwaukee Bucks. There were wins for the Denver Nuggets, the Sacramento Kings. The Cleveland Cavaliers lost, interestingly, to the Indiana Pacers, and the Oklahoma City Thunders also defeated the Washington Wizards, while the Orlando Magic also defeated the Philadelphia 76ers. The New Orleans Pelicans were beaten by just a point by the champions Boston Celtics, and there were wins for the Phoenix Suns and Utah Jazz. That will be all for sports this morning. The show continues.
It's your lifestyle, leisure, and business radio. Stay tuned to your lifestyle, leisure, and business radio.
1, 2, 3!
Dive into a world of exhilarating fun, refreshing thrills, and endless splashes at the Marina Water Park inside Lakeside. With a wide array of water attractions, you are guaranteed an unforgettable experience for the whole family. Open Saturdays 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. and Sundays 1 p.m. to 6 p.m. Call 0508 598 948 or 0204 775 044. Follow us on all socials at Lakeside Marina Park. Marina Water Park. Love the experience.
Hello, fun!
First Sky Group, a wholly owned group.
Zed. You're still tuning to Z101.9 FM. This is your most authoritative business, lifestyle, and leisure radio. And this is the Business Breakfast on Zed. Now, this morning, just gone by, we had Lukman Evergreen Mumin bringing us all the latest in the world of sports, and Samuel Enchi bringing us all the latest in the world of business. Now, the next few minutes, I'm going to come your way with Business Brief. I'm going to share a presentation on the art of negotiation. You sure wouldn't want to miss that. And I'll be speaking on the 7 effective skills for business negotiations.
Zed 101.9 FM.
Now, these are things that you need to pay attention if you want to be effective at your negotiations.
Stay tuned to your lifestyle, leisure, and business radio.
It's your lifestyle, leisure, and business radio.
Well, now time for Business Brief, and I'm going to start on 7 elements of effective negotiations. Well, so what is negotiation? Now, as businesses, it is very important to hone your negotiation skills. If you're a business person, you're an entrepreneur, anything at all, if you engage in business with other people, then negotiation should be one of the very key things that you need to know. And today, we're bringing you a few tips on negotiation, things that you need to know on how to negotiate effectively. Now, what is negotiation really? What is negotiation? Now, I have come across a lot of negotiation definitions from several websites and several business people. But today, what I want to share with you is one from Investopedia. Now, Investopedia has a very good definition for negotiation. And they say that negotiation is a strategic discussion intended to resolve an issue that both parties find acceptable. Negotiation is a strategic discussion intended to resolve an issue that both parties find acceptable. And that involves a give and take, where one or both parties will usually need to make some concessions. A negotiation occurs when buyers and sellers, or employers and prospective employees, or two or more governments come together to make a decision or come to an agreement. Now, so what are the 7 elements of effective negotiation? What are the things that you need to pay attention to if you want to really negotiate effectively? Now, the very first one that I want to share with you this morning is relationship. So before you go into any negotiation, you need to ask yourself, am I prepared to deal with a relationship? Am I prepared to deal with a relationship? Now, what you need to know also is that a good negotiating relationship is needed to address differences and conflicts. And separate people issues from substantive issues. You need to do that. In every negotiation, make sure you separate people issues from substantive issues. Look at the issue on the table and focus largely on that. Don't look at the personal issues you have with the one you're negotiating with. Put that aside. It doesn't matter. Separate that from the issue at hand. What exactly you came to negotiate on. Now, another thing is that you need to also prepare and plan to build and maintain a good working relationship. It is very, very important that if you go into any negotiation, you have a plan and you're also prepared to build and maintain a good working relationship. You also have to be respectful. In every negotiation, one of the key things that is very, very important is that you must be respectful. You must be trustworthy. And you must ensure that you are unconditionally constructive. Make sure that you are constructive in everything that you're sharing, everything that you're saying. Now, number 2 thing that you need to do, apart from relationship, is communication. One thing that you must pay attention to is communication. So the question you should be asking yourself is that, am I ready to listen and talk effectively? Which is aimed at creating a learning conversation. Am I ready to listen and talk effectively? Now, what are the core skills or the basic communication skills in negotiation? What are the things that you need to know when it comes to communicating in negotiation? Now, number 1 thing is active listening. There is what we call passive listening and there is what we call active listening. Now, the difference is just your investment of time. So, passive listening is you listening, but you're also doing something. But active listening is you being fully present in the negotiation, because you need to get the details in every negotiation to be able to come to a very good conclusion. So if you're negotiating with somebody, then you need to pay attention fully. You need to be an active listener. And to do active listening, you must overcome some of our tendencies. We must overcome some of our tendencies and habits that interfere with good listening. So what are some of the things that interfere? You're on your phone. You're checking a message, you're looking elsewhere, and all of that. You need to avoid that if you really want to have a good negotiation. You want to communicate effectively in a good negotiation. So one of the things is that you must be an active listener in a negotiation. Now, another thing is that you must acknowledge what has been said and felt. So the question you're asking yourself is, have you effectively demonstrated to the other negotiators that you have heard and understood what they have said? So you can use paraphrasing or summarizing. Acknowledge the things that they are saying. Okay, so you mean this. Okay, so if I get you well, this is what you mean. That is what you do in negotiation. To show that you are listening, to show that you are really present. You can engage them and ask them, oh, so do you mean that? Then you say whatever you want to say. Or what you're saying, does it mean this? Did you just say that just for clarity? And summarize whatever they are saying. Now, the third thing that you need to also do to be able to communicate effectively, the core skill, the third core skill that you need to have in negotiation is to listen to understand and speak to be understood. Listen to understand and speak to be understood. So you don't just go into the conversation ready to listen, but make sure you are listening to understand. And also you are speaking to be understood. Make sure that you avoid every ambiguity. Don't make sure you avoid every ambiguity. Don't just go and say words that people will have different meanings for. So you make sure that you are saying the words just as they are. Now, the fourth core skill that you need to have is that you should be able to speak about yourself and not them. Speak about yourself, not them. So one thing you need to ask yourself is that, have you let them know what are the crucial skills, crucial issues for you and your community or your business or whatever it is, and how you feel about the problem at hand? So you need to use I statements. I feel this. I believe this. I think this. Use I statements in negotiations. It will help you a lot. Now, also, you need to speak for a purpose. Always have a thought in mind. Know what you want to say and speak for that purpose. And make sure that you are clear and concise. Don't use too many words in negotiations. When you go into negotiation, know what you want to do, know what you want to say, and what you want to get out of the conversation before you go into that. Now, still under communication, what other core skills do you need to gather the knowledge and to learn about their interests? Number one is clarifying and probing skills. You need to think about the basic questions that you want to ask for clarification, so that you are always on point with whatever they are saying. You always need to get whatever they are saying. So you have to clarify, you need to probe. And that is the skill, one of the skills that you need to be able to communicate effectively in a negotiation. Now, another thing you need to pay attention, I have mentioned relationship, I've mentioned communication. The third thing is interests. You need to ask yourself, what do people really want? And so when you go into the negotiation, you want to collectively identify and articulate the interests and concerns and needs of all the relevant parties. Mine, yours, and theirs. Mine, yours, and theirs. These are the things that you need to pay attention to. Another thing is that you need to identify and prioritize community interests together. Always get on the same page. Always get on the same page with your people. Don't just speak. Always get on the same page. Now, you also need to probe for your an unarticulated interest. Probe for your unarticulated interest. Make sure that theirs is also at hand and you're paying attention to all of that. Now, number 4 is options. Apart from relationship, communication, and interest, you need to also look at the options on the table. What are the possible agreements or bits of agreement that we could come to? And you always need to design the options and not the positions. So you need to create options that meet both your requirements and that of whoever you are negotiating with. So you need to pay attention to the options. Another thing you need to pay attention to are the alternatives. Number 5, alternatives. What will I do if we do not agree? What will I do? What are the alternatives? What are the things I need to pay attention to outside the conversation? If this negotiation doesn't go well, if we don't agree, what are the alternatives at hand? That is one thing you need to pay attention to. Another thing is legitimacy. What criteria would I use to persuade each of us that we are not being ripped off? What criteria? You're asking yourself, what criteria? What are the things I need to pay attention to? What are the things that I need to use as indicators to show me that I'm not being ripped off? And it is something that you must also pay attention. Number 7 is commitment. What commitment should I seek or make? And make sure that you get commitment at the end and not at the beginning. Don't make any commitment in a negotiation at the beginning. Always make sure you focus on that at the end. And then the final one is what is a good outcome? You need to know that. Does it meet your interest? Is it fair? And is it doable? These are the 3 things you want to ask yourself. So this morning, I just took you through 7 elements for effective negotiation. Relationship. Am I prepared to deal with the relationship? Communication. Am I ready to listen and talk effectively? Interest. What do people really want? Options. What are the possible agreements or bits of an agreement? Alternatives. What will I do if these people do not agree with me? Legitimacy. What criteria would I use to persuade each of us that we are not being ripped off? Commitment. What commitment should I seek or make? And then in conclusion, ask yourself, does this meet my interest? Is it fair? And is it doable? That's all for Business Brief this morning here on Business Breakfast on Zed 101.9 FM. Stay tuned with me. Up next is a Transport Today.
This is the pre-boarding announcement for flight 3728.
Ignition sequence start. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. All engines running. Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
Well, time for Transport Today, and my colleague Solomon is in studio with me to bring us all that we need to know in line with traffic and the flights for today. My brother, you're welcome.
Ralph, thank you. I hope you had a good weekend.
Yeah, I did. How about you?
By the grace, I also had a good
Right. What's happening? Talk to us.
All right, so Transport Today, I'm taking you through the flight schedules that we have in some of our major cities in Ghana. That is Kumasi, Takoradi, and then Tamale. So I'm starting with Passion Air, Accra to Kumasi, Passion Air. Today we have 6 flights available that will be flying from Accra to Kumasi and be returning as well. So I'm taking you through the time that they will be taking off and then the time they will be returning back to Accra. So first flight for Passion Air, Accra to Kumasi, takes off at 6:20 a.m. and then will be arriving at 7 a.m. and then it will return 7:30 a.m. from Kumasi and then get back to Accra 8:10 a.m. Second flight takes off at 8:50 a.m. and arrives at Kumasi at 9:30 a.m. and then we'll take off from Kumasi at 10 a.m. and then get back to Accra at 10:40 a.m. Third flight takes off at 11:20 a.m. and then arrives in Kumasi at 12 p.m. and then we'll take off from Kumasi at 12:30 p.m. and then arrive back to Accra at 1:10 p.m. The fourth flight takes off at 1:50 p.m. and arrives in Kumasi at 2:30 p.m. and takes off in Kumasi at 3 p.m. and then arrives in Accra at 3:40 p.m. Fifth flight takes off at 4:20 p.m. and then arrives in Kumasi at 5 o'clock p.m. and then return from Kumasi 5:30 p.m. and arrives in Accra at 6:10 p.m. The last flight takes off at 7:20 p.m. and then arrives in Kumasi at 8:10 p.m. and then returns 8:30 and arrives in Accra at 9:20 p.m. So that is Passion Air from Accra to Kumasi. And then Accra to Takoradi, the Passion Air. There are 2 available flights for Accra to Takoradi. And the first flight takes off at 6:20 a.m. and then arrives in Takoradi at 7:10 a.m. And then return from Takoradi. We'll take off at Takoradi 7:40 a.m. and then gets to Accra 8:30 a.m. Right. And then the second flight will take off at 4:20 p.m. and then arrives in Takoradi at 5:10 p.m. and then return from Takoradi. It will take off in Takoradi 5:40 a.m. and then arrives in Accra at 6:30 p.m. Let me take you to Accra to Tamale.
Okay.
All right. So Passion Air, Accra to Tamale. We have 3 flights available today.
Right.
And if you want to take the first flight, it takes off at 6 o'clock a.m. and arrives in Tamale at 7:20 a.m.
Okay.
Returns. That means it will take off in Tamale 7:50 a.m. today and then gets to Accra at 9:10 a.m. That is the returning flight. Right. And then the second flight will take off, or it takes off at 12:20 p.m. and arrives in Tamale 1:40 p.m. and then takes off in Tamale 2:10 p.m. and arrives in Accra 3:30 p.m. Third flight, that's their last flight for Passion Air Accra to Tamale. Takes off at 4 o'clock p.m. and arrives in Tamale at 5:20 p.m. and then takes off in Tamale 5:50 p.m. and return back to Accra in 7:10 p.m. So that is Passion Air for today. And let me take you through African World Airlines. African World Airlines. Accra to Kumasi. They have 5 flights available from Accra to Kumasi, African World Airlines. And the first flight takes off 7:20 a.m., arrives in Kumasi 7 o'clock a.m., and then will take off in Kumasi 7:30 a.m., and then arrives in Accra 8:10 a.m. Second flight takes off 8:40 a.m., arrives in Kumasi 9:20 a.m., takes off in Kumasi 9:50 a.m., and then returns or arrives in Accra 10:30 a.m. Third flight takes off 9:40 a.m., arrives in Kumasi 10:20 a.m., and then takes off in Kumasi 10:50 a.m., arrives in Accra 11:30 a.m. Fourth flight takes off at 12 p.m., arrives in Kumasi 12:40 p.m., and then takes off in Kumasi 1:10 p.m. and returns to or arrives in Accra 1:50 p.m. Then the last flight for African World Airlines. Last flight for Accra to Kumasi takes off at 2:10 p.m. and then arrives in Kumasi at 2:50 p.m. and then takes off in Kumasi 3:20 p.m. and arrives in Accra 4 o'clock p.m. Quickly, let me take you through Accra to Takoradi. That is African World Airlines. And it's only one flight available for Accra to Takoradi. And it takes off 7:10 a.m. and arrives in Takoradi 7:50 a.m. and takes off in Takoradi 7:20 a.m. and arrives in Accra 9 o'clock a.m. Last but not the least, Accra to Tamale. So first flight takes off at 6:30 a.m. and arrives in Tamale 7:30 a.m.
Right. So by now it has arrived already.
Yes, by now. And then the first flight taking off from Tamale to Accra will take off at 8 o'clock a.m. and then arrives in Accra 9 o'clock a.m. Second flight takes off at 9:30 a.m. and arrives in Tamale 10:30 a.m. So that is the flight schedule for today. Yeah, for African World Airlines and Passion Air. Let me quickly take you through some traffic checks in town. And right now, if you look at Atomic Roundabout, from Atomic Roundabout to Hacho, there's a bit massive traffic over there. So if you are coming from Atomic all the way to Hacho, there's a traffic. I think the alternative route will be when you are getting to transition, you can take the route that go to DVLA, the new DVLA, and then pass through Boshe, and then come and pass through what do we call it? This area, North Legon. North Legon. Then you get to Medina, and then use the Atomic Road, Atomic Junction. So that's the alternative route for the traffic at Hacho and Atomic Roundabout. And let me quickly take you through some stories in the aviation sector. Brazil's Airlines appoints Ilse Adrain as country manager Ghana. So in December, the country manager Ghana for Brazil's Airlines retired. So now they have appointed new country manager Ghana, and that's Adrian. So she is now the country manager for Brazil's Airlines.
Wow.
Yes, and
congratulations to her.
Exactly. And African Airline, South African Airlink Airlines have also resumed operating to Namam. They are operating in Nampula. So in December they were suspended not to fly to Nampula. But with the information that we have had, they have now resumed flying to Nampula because there's been reassurance from the Mozambique and then the South African authorities. So that's all for transport today.
Thank you so much, my colleague Solomon. Thank you for the transport today. Thank you. All right, so Business Breakfast on Zed continues, and we're still in studio here. We're bringing you a conversation for market trends this morning, and my colleague will be joining me at exactly 8 o'clock for this conversation. He's getting ready to be in studio with me or over the phone lines. So stay tuned.
It's your lifestyle, leisure, and business radio.
Zed 101.9 FM. Zed 101.9 FM.
Stay tuned to your lifestyle, leisure, and business radio.
The First Skies Group 22nd anniversary celebration will now be held on the 17th of January 2025 and 19th of January 2025 respectively. Now on Friday 17th January, there will be an all night from 10 p.m. to 5 a.m. at the Trinity Temple Assemblies of God Church, Community 10, Tema. And ministry in word is Reverend Mark Sessi, National Missions Director, Assemblies of God, Sierra Leone, and Reverend Sujit Alex, Things Not Area Leader, Assemblies of God, UK. And then on Sunday, January 19, 2025, there will be a special anniversary and Thanksgiving service at the main auditorium of the Accra International Conference Center at 10 a.m. The guest speaker is Reverend Stephen Yenosum Wingham, General Superintendent, Assemblies of God, Ghana, and Most Reverend Professor Johnson Kwabena Asamoah Jedu, Presiding Bishop of the Methodist Church, Ghana, will be the chairman of the occasion. Now, ministry and music will be MOG Music and others. Now, for more details, you can contact 020-854-3441, 020-854-3441, or 0248-940-021, 0248-940-021. Well, time check is exactly 1 minute past the hour 8, and this is the time for market trends, where we get to talk about, we analyze some stocks, we talk about things that are going on in the global market and even the local market as well. My colleague Emmanuel Boateng is on the phone lines with me, and we're going to talk a bit more about some of these things. So, Emmanuel, good morning. Hello, Emmanuel.
Good morning, Raphael.
Yeah, good morning. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm not too well, but I'm good.
Oh, sorry about that. But I hope you're able to speak to us anyway.
Yeah, I'm able.
All right, that's great. So let's get into market trends. What's happening? What's the latest?
All right. So next morning we would want to look at the treasury bill market.
Okay.
This is a market where the government invites investors to purchase its debt security, right, which is the T-bill. And so each tender is numbered. When I say tender, I mean the auction or event where the government invites the public or investors to purchase its debt. In other words, like I mentioned the last time, when you buy T-bill, you've actually lent money to the government. So it's a debt instrument of the government.
Okay.
And so that's what I really mean.
Right.
And the recent instrument is tender number 1937. It was held on the 10th of January 2025. And so I'm here to just give some background or maybe some analysis of what happened in terms of government targets and whether or not investors oversubscribed or undersubscribed,
okay,
and what the implications are,
right,
for all of us.
Hello, Emmanuel.
Yes, Raphael.
Yeah. So just go ahead. Take us through.
All right.
Were we able to? Maybe we should start from here. Were we able to exceed our targets for the for that?
Yes, government was able to exceed its target for tender 1937.
Okay.
It exceeded its target by 55.38%. That was the oversubscription rate.
Wow.
Yes. Government targeted 5.1 or 5.2 billion Ghana cedis, and then it raised 8.1 billion cedis.
Right.
And so that tells you over 2.8 billion cedis was oversubscribed, representing 55.38%.
And that's good news.
It depends. It depends on how you are looking at it.
Okay, tell us more.
It tells us investors have confidence in the market. You know, nobody would buy more debt, or in other words, nobody will invest more or will lend more money to the government if they don't believe the government is able to pay them back.
Okay, but do you think it has got something to do with the current government?
I think it's a bit premature.
Okay.
Yeah, because before the current government took office, we had seen a number of oversubscriptions. But of course, that also plays a role. Yeah, because investors believe a new government may not default on it. I mean, we've not seen a default in treasury bills, properly so-called. We saw one with the bond market. Okay. We've not seen any with treasury bill market. Right. And so we are not really expecting that. However, I think it plays a role, but maybe it's a bit premature because the new government is just about, 6 days in office? Yeah.
Yeah, roughly.
Yeah, 6 days in office.
All right. So take us through.
All right. So this morning, you know, I can go on and analyze just tender 1937. But it dawned on me to just compare it to what happened in the previous tender, which was 1936.
Right.
So maybe let me do both together so we see some dynamics before I come to the mainstream analysis and then talk about it.
Sure.
Now, government target for tender 1936, which was on January 3rd, as again, you know, it's weekly.
Yeah.
I hope that's okay.
Weekly. Yeah.
So everyone must understand it is a weekly tender. Or, I mean, it's a weekly invitation the government gives all of us, especially investors, to lend money to them.
Right. So that means that the next one will be on the 17th, isn't it?
Exactly.
All right. Okay.
Exactly.
Okay. Go ahead.
Yeah. So now, on January 3rd, which was the previous tender, the government's target was 4.3 billion cedis. 4.3 billion cedis. As against the recent one, which was January 10th, tender 1937 of 5.2 billion cedis. Now, Raphael, when you look at that itself, it tells you that the target by the government had grown or had increased. So clearly, between the two tenders, or in other words, between the two targets, the target increased by 872 million Ghana cedis. And that in itself shows a certain level of financing that the government needs. Because the government will not give a target if it doesn't need the money. Is that okay?
Yeah.
So government needs more money. It tells us government needs more money. So they've increased their target by 872 million Ghana cedis.
Right.
And it is an increment in this target that has even been oversubscribed. So that gives us a certain insight as to what is happening. And that is why I'm saying that, yes, it is good, but it depends on how you are looking at it. On one hand, government was expecting to get more over 1 week period. And they did get more, and even got more than what they increased their target by. Look at it. The target was increased by 872 million Ghana cedis, but the oversubscription was 2.8 billion Ghana cedis. When you compare the increase in target to the oversubscription, that in itself is a lot.
It's a lot.
It's a lot. It's a lot. So that tells you the level of confidence investors have in the economy, and the amount of financing the government needs. Now, you see that the amount that was tendered, I mean, in itself, I've done that. When you compare the 5.3 billion Ghana cedis on the previous tender to the recent one of 8.1 billion cedis, you can see a significant 49.8 increase in the bids.
Wow.
Yes, when you compare 1937, which is the recent one, to the previous one, it increased by 49.8%.
That's roughly 50%.
Yes, almost 50%. Almost half. More than half. So you because 5.3, 8.1. It's almost when you do the math, 50%, almost 50% in terms of the amount tendered. So the target grew, amount tendered also increased. Now let's see if the previous tender also saw some oversubscription. That's why I was telling you. The previous tender, which was on January 1st, in itself saw an oversubscription. At the time, the new government had not
come. Right, that's true.
And maybe you can say that, well, they had won the election. The election was on 7. Declaration was around, 9 for 8.
Yeah.
So in many cases, someone may argue that they had won the election.
Yes, they were definitely going to come.
Exactly. Yeah. But before then, we had seen a number of oversubscriptions. I mean, on few occasions, we've also seen government missing its target on the treasury bill market. Now, when you look at the oversubscription in the previous tender, that was 1936, it was 25.38%. It was oversubscribed by 1.1 billion Ghana cedis. That's against a target of 4.3 billion Ghana cedis. Do you follow?
Yeah.
And currently, the oversubscription is 55.38%. That is 2.9 billion Ghana cedis, like I mentioned to you earlier.
I see.
So you can observe that the oversubscription nearly doubled in tender 1937, which is the recent one, indicating stronger investor demand.
Right.
Investors are really investing in the treasury bill market. I feel that is a good way to put it.
Right.
They are demanding a lot of the treasury bill. And Raphael, we are going to get into it. When you take the treasury bill, they come in 3 main categories.
Okay.
We have the 91 day, we have 182 days, and we have the 364 day bill.
Yeah.
And you may want to compare. You see, each of them has what it implies.
Okay.
If you go in for 91 days, then it looks more or less like you really want to lend your money for a short time relative to the other two. And then 182 is just in the middle, and then 64, sorry, is just a full year effect. Now, let's look at the 91-day bid. The demand for that grew by 56.1%. That is if you compare the previous bid to the current one. Do you see that?
Yeah.
A lot of investors prefer short-term instruments.
Okay.
Consistently, we have seen continued preference for the 91-day treasury bill. Consistently.
Okay.
A lot of people, a lot of investors going for the 91-day bid. As compared to the 182 days and the 364. And it will be interesting. You are going to see a decline in one of them. You see, this one, it looks like everything is increasing.
Yeah.
But you are going to see a decline in one of them. And that is the 364.
What causes that?
I think it is because it is longer term.
Okay.
Investors are a bit skeptical on that. So although we are seeing
things could change.
Yes.
Right.
Although we are seeing strong confidence in the treasury bill market, it looks like the confidence with the 364 bid is on a decline, a slight decline. I say slight because the decline was just 7.3%.
Right.
In the previous tender, government raised 1.2 billion cedis from 364-day bid. But in this current tender, government was able to raise only 1.1 billion cedis. It has just reduced investor interest in this longer term.
The longer terms.
In the broader short, the treasury bill itself is a short-term investment vehicle.
Because it's just within 1 year.
Exactly. Exactly. So, but the more interesting is the 182-day bid. That saw the greatest increase or the highest, percentage increase between the previous tender and the current one.
I see.
It increased by 134.4%. More than double.
Wow.
Yeah, a double is 100%.
Yes.
This is more than double.
More than double.
Yes, more than double. In the previous tender, government was able to raise just about 604 million Ghana cedis. And in this current tender, 1.4 billion cedis was raised from the 182-day bid.
Okay.
Now, maybe let's look at the yields. I mean, some people are interested in how much they'll be earning if they invest 91 days and all of that.
Right. And before we go off, before we end our conversation today, I would want us to also go into people understanding what exactly it is and how they can invest. So we'll come to that. I mean, I hope you'll be able to share something along those lines. Yeah.
Now, you find that the yields increased slightly across all tenants. What do I mean? In the previous tender, the yield for the 91 days, the weighted average was 28.2%.
Right.
And in the current one, it was 28.3%.
Okay.
We see a 100 basis points increase. That is the 1 percentage point increase.
Right.
Now, when you look at the 182 days, it was 28.92%. Currently, it is 28.96%. And then the 364 days, it is 30.15. It was 30.15 as against 30.18. So you can see that the yields across the three different bids increased slightly. Across all tenants. It increased slightly. Tenants would mean the number of days it takes for the instrument to mature or for the bill to mature.
Right.
Now, when you invest, just because of the question you asked that I add to it, when you invest in a 91-day treasury bill, for instance, let's take the 1937, the one that was held on the 10th of January.
The 10th of January, right.
Exactly. Which will be issued today, the 13th of January. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Now, you would observe that the interest rate is between 28 to 28.3 to 28.35. If you like, 28.34 cents. 28.3385. That's really how the rates come. this interest rate, when you invest in a 91-day treasury bill, at the end of the 91 days, you are not going to earn 28.3385% on your principal or on the amount you invested. No, that is not how it works.
Okay, tell us
because
how.
You see, in the standard finance literature, there is an assumption that every finance person knows and understands. And the assumption is simple and straightforward. Unless otherwise stated, every rate is quoted per annum.
Okay.
Per year. Is that okay?
Yeah.
And when you even look at the notice to banks and the public, which was issued by the Bank of Ghana, publicly available on their website, that is where I'm getting whatever I'm discussing this morning from.
Okay.
When you look at it, you would notice that they will write bid rates allotted in full, then percentage per annum. You see P.A.
Yeah.
That is per annum. So all the rates are quoted per year.
Per year. Oh, okay.
And 91 days, my brother, we all know it's not a full year.
No.
How many days are in a year?
365 and 366.
But our bills, I mean, the one for a year is 364 days.
Yeah.
I hope that's okay.
Yeah.
I mean, it depends on what you want to do.
Why is that? Why is that so, though?
Oh, it's just the system we use.
Oh, okay.
I mean, even in school, some calculations will allow you to use 365, some will allow you to use 364. But this is what we are stuck to. We don't change it.
Okay.
It's not like for this tender, it is this. The next one, it changes. No, that is not how it goes. It's 364. Now, because it's a 91-day treasury bill, and there are 364 days or 365 days. Are you with me?
Yeah, I'm with you.
The 91 day only represents a quarter, which is 3 months.
Yeah. Roughly.
Now multiply 91 days by 4, which will give you a full year, and you get 364. I don't know if you can follow.
Yeah.
Exactly. It means that rate will be divided by 4. Is that okay? For you to realize the interest on your 91-day T-bill, that rate has to be divided by 4 and multiplied by the amount you invested. That will be your interest, and that will be added back to your principal to give you your total amount you would have earned for investing in that tenor or in that particular bill.
Okay.
Are you with me?
Yes, I'm with you.
Is it clear?
Yeah.
Very well. And same applies to 182. That one, the rate will have to be divided by 2. But for the 364-day bill, because it will mature after 1 year, the rate applies as it is. Is that okay?
Yeah.
So sometimes I find a few people think that, the 91 day is 28.3 and the 364 day is 30. Who will invest in 364? If I do 91 days for about 4 times in a year, I'm better off than the person who did 364. Are we saying the Bank of Ghana is not aware of this? They are. And so that is not how it applies. So sometimes when you go to the bank to buy a T-bill, get that distinction clearly. You get it here from us, that this is how it works. You are not going to earn 28.3. No, you are not going to earn that. You are going to earn less than that. In fact, you are going to earn a quarter of that.
Right.
Is that okay?
Yeah.
And that is really how it works. And so, and you see, you need to decide which of the tenets you want. Is it the 91 day? Is it the 182 days? Or is it 364 days?
Okay. All right. So we may want to go into how people can really purchase these things. But let's start from what exactly is a treasury bill? Maybe we can start a conversation from there, because I believe that maybe there may be somebody listening. We are talking about treasury bill. They don't understand what treasury bill is. So maybe we can just briefly go into that. If you can share something on that. Really, what are they and how do we invest in treasury bill in Ghana? And is this something that we can, people should actually put their money into?
All right. So a treasury bill, commonly known as T-bill, T-bill, everyone knows it's T-bill, but the T stands for treasury.
Right.
It's a short-term government security.
Okay.
Government security that is issued to help manage the national debt. Why do I say so? When government issues a treasury bill, it intends to raise additional source of financing to fund its project.
Okay.
Is that okay?
Yeah.
And by that, anyone who invests in the treasury bill market or in a treasury bill actually lends money to the government.
Okay.
And so you are an investor and the government owes you. The government is obliged by the contract to pay you a certain amount of interest at a certain time. And that is why the tenors differ. So it's a short term because typically their maturities are between or within 1 year.
Okay.
91 days, 182 days, 364 days, all of that are within a year. Is that okay?
Yes. Yeah.
Now, they are sold at a discount to their face value. That is quite technical. I don't even know if I said that. So you might buy a 1,000 CDT bill for 950 CDs. Now, what that means is that when it matures, you receive 1,000 CDs.
Right.
You will notice there is a difference between 1,000 CDs and 950 CDs.
Yeah.
Exactly. Now, the interest rate is the difference between the purchase price and the face value, like I told you. So you bought a T-bill, 1,000 CDs for 950 CDs. It means you bought it at a discount. But when the T-bill matures, you are going to earn or you are going to receive a full 1,000 Ghana cedis.
Okay.
People prefer them because they are very liquid. So when we say liquidity, what we mean is that they can easily be bought and sold in the secondary market.
Right.
You can easily get your money from. Your money will not be. It's not difficult to really sell a T-bill.
A T-bill.
Right. Relative to other securities.
Okay.
Is that okay?
Yeah.
All right. So when you look on there are some two key things I wanted to explain as well.
Okay.
The difference between the discount rate and then the interest rate, as seen on the tender, I mean the document.
The document, from
now,
the Bank of Ghana.
The discount rate and the interest and the interest rate, they represent two broad ways of expressing the return on the investment or the interest you earn on the investment, but they are closely related. Let's take the discount rate. It is simply the rate at which you buy, at which the T-bill is sold below its face value.
Right.
When we say face value, it's essentially the value that is quoted on the face of the document. If you bought T-bill before, you would know that there is an amount that is written, face value. I don't know what to really say. But if you've dealt in the market before, that will be clear to you. Now, investors buy T-bill at a price lower than its full face value and earn the difference when the bill matures. So look at it this way. Before you buy the T-bill, you know how much you are going to earn at the end of 91 days. Are you with me?
Yeah, I'm with you.
The discount rate is the rate at which, so for instance, you see, you remember I gave you an example earlier that you are buying 1,000 CDT bill for 950 CDs.
Yes.
Now you bought it for 950 CDs. But when the bill matures, in other words, at the end of the 91 days, you are going to receive 1,000 CDs. Is that okay?
Yeah.
The discount rate is the rate that is allowing you to more or less sell the bill below its face value, which is 1,000 CDs.
Okay.
Is that okay?
Yeah.
So as an investor, you are going to buy at a price lower than its full face value and earn the difference when the bill matures.
Oh, okay.
So for example, a 91 T-bill with a face value of 1,000 cedis might sell at 950 cedis, like I told you. The difference of 50 cedis is the investor's earning.
Oh.
Is that okay?
Oh, right, yeah.
And the discount rate is expressed, expresses this as a percentage of the face value.
Please repeat that. I didn't quite get that.
So I'm saying that a 91-day T-bill with a face value of, say, 1,000 cedis might sell for 950 cedis. So the difference between the 1,000 and the 950 cedis, which is 50 cedis, is your earning. Or as an investor, that is your interest. I mean, however you call it.
Okay.
and this discount rate, is that okay?
Right.
Expresses this earning as a percentage of the face value. So when you want to do the discount rate, how are you going to do it? I mean, let's not get into mathematics, but that is really it. The face value minus the purchase price, you have to divide all of that by the face value, and you multiply it by the days to maturity. This is 91 days over 35 days. I mean, 35 days full year, or 34 days in this case, over the days to maturity, which is if it is 91 days. But, I mean, we are not here for a math class or anything. But that is how it is computed. Is that okay?
Yes, it is okay. Because of time, maybe you can just run us through maybe a quick. We'll talk about the pros and cons. Hopefully, when we get another opportunity. But let's talk about how people can purchase T-bill briefly in 1 minute.
Just go to your bank and just let them know you want to buy T-bill. It's not a difficult process. You must understand, I mean, by today, I'm sure you would understand the different tenors that we have.
Right.
91 day, 182 day, 364 day.
Yeah.
And what it means, the rate you are going to see, what they really mean. Is that okay?
Yeah.
And so you know what you are going in for. And the higher the amount you are investing, the higher the interest you are going to earn, because it's the same percentage. And so the reason why I'm going to earn more than you on a T-bill is because say if you're investing 1,000 cedis and say the interest is, as we have seen, about 28% or something, you are going to earn 280 cedis on what you invest. Meanwhile, if I'm investing 10,000 cedis, I'm going to earn about 2,800 cedis after the bill matures. Is that okay? So that will create a difference. And you need to know which of them you are going in for. Is it 91 days, which will mean that at the end of 91 days, the bill matures, you are giving your, earnings plus your principal. And then if it is 182 days, the same thing, 364 days, the same thing. And you know the interest. And because if it is not 364 days, it means that it is not per annum. And so the interest would have to be divided by 4 for you to enter.
To be able to enter. All right.
Yes. Before we go, there is something I cannot leave out, especially with this current auction that has ended. The oversubscription, like I've said, is indicative of a strong market confidence in government instruments. And it is usually driven by a lack of alternative high-yielding investment options in the market. You see today, if someone comes to you, where should I invest my money? You see the options are very limited.
They're very limited.
And that may account for why a lot of people are going in for
the T-bill.
I
see.
Also, the excess funds raised can provide fiscal flexibility. In other words, it can give government some extra amount of money for them to use for their project. But it similarly raises concern about increasing short-term debt obligations. In other words, it is government that is supposed to pay all these monies back plus interest. I don't know if you get it. So it's also giving them increasing short-term debt obligations in addition to the already existing debt obligation. And so that is also something that must be looked at.
So it's now, like government is enjoying today to pay later.
Exactly.
Anyway, my brother, unfortunately time is fast spent. But this has been like some very good education on the treasury bill markets here in Ghana. And thank you so much. I want to say thank you to you. Hopefully we get to speak again tomorrow. Is that fine?
Yeah, that's okay.
All right. Charlie, thank you so much. So that was my colleague, Emmanuel Boating, who joined us over the phone lines for market trends. We talked a bit about treasury bills, what exactly it is about, and how you can purchase your treasury bills. We are on again tomorrow for market trends at 8 a.m. So make sure that you tune in. But you're still listening to Business Breakfast on Z101.9 FM. Now, at this point, to go for a spot of music. And when we return, the show continues. roundtable discussion for the day. And my colleague Emmanuel Boateng is joining me once again over the phone lines. And I have in studio with me my colleague Rebecca. Rebecca, what's your name? Okine, yes, Rebecca Okine, right?
Yeah, Okine.
Yes, Rebecca, you're welcome. You're welcome.
Thank you.
Okay, so today we are talking. We still want to zero in a bit more on the future of jobs report. I think it's a report that we don't just have to discuss for a day. We don't just have to just highlight a few things. I think it's something that we need to continue to have conversations about, because repetition actually enforces things. All right, and so the more we talk about it, people will get to understand it a bit more. Maybe you are listening to us for the first time. We've spoken a bit about the future of jobs report by the World Economic Forum, but we just want to go in a bit more into a very open discussion where people share their thoughts. But feel free to join us on social media. We are on Instagram, Facebook, and X at ZFMGH, and then on YouTube and TikTok we are Z Multimedia. You could also visit our website at www.zmultimedia.com for more news and for updates as to what we are doing and all of that. So let's get into the conversation. Emmanuel, are you there with me?
Yeah, I'm here with you.
All right, great. So we're going to go into the report briefly. And I think it is very, very important that we have this conversation. So maybe the very first thing that I should be asking both of you is that what are the typical changes, the biggest changes in the document that came as a shock to you? So let me start with Rebecca in studio. Rebecca.
Okay, so I'll talk about the jobs that were listed at the bottom, like those ones that are projected to kind of be irrelevant, or people are going to decline, or people are going to lose their jobs if they are working in this sector. So I was kind of surprised to see graphic designers as part of that bottom list, and there was also cashiers and ticket clerks. So for me, seeing cashiers and graphic designers part of the bottom list was kind of surprising to me because of the caliber of their work. Though I know that we have technology that is able to do a lot of graphic designing and all that, but I kind of feel there is this human touch that when a professional or somebody does an artwork for you, it sometimes look very refined as compared to a machine doing it for you. But the report is telling us that in about 5 years to come, these people are going to be less relevant. So for me, that was the thing that's kind of surprised or shocked me. Yeah,
all right, that's okay. So let's hear from Ima.
Yeah, I think that for me, you know, as an accountant, I'm worried that my profession is part of the jobs that will have declined by 2030. But for me, in as much as it's a shock, I think it challenges everyone. I mean, legal services, bookkeeping, accounting, you find these things as declining jobs, then it tells you there is some value that inherently you may not have, but you need to add to your skill set for you to stand out. Right. And you can find that in the jobs that are rising on the other side.
I see. So very, I mean, profound thoughts. Cause I mean, the when it comes to the accounting, because I thought accountants will continue to stay relevant in their space, but this one came as a shocker to me. So I think everybody needs to really focus on getting some of these skills, because without them you will be irrelevant. Now, how do you think technology is changing the way people work today? How do you think this technology is changing the way people work? Rebecca.
Okay, so well, it's challenging people to think of better ways to go about their project or their tasks. So technology is actually influencing the way you do your work and even the presentation of the work. Right. Yeah, and we also know that like it has benefits of reducing time and all that. And I also say that by and by it's becoming quite easier to learn some of these these technological tools.
Right.
Like you don't have to be this so much maybe advanced in education. Even with the little that you know, they are trying to make it more friendly so that anyone who is interested can learn something. So I think that's what I would have to say.
Right. Okay. Ima?
Yeah, I mean, basic level, technology improves efficiency, collaboration, and productivity. For all of us, it enables some remote work, enhances some level of automation to routine tasks or duties. And then it creates opportunities in new fields like AI as it's work. For instance, you know, today, companies like Zoom, Microsoft Teams, they have completely revolutionized remote work. They have made it possible for teams to collaborate globally in real time, contemporaneously around the globe. We are able to have meetings, work together, and all of that. I mean, in agriculture today, drones are used to monitor crops, not only in agriculture, but even in science. I mean, healthcare delivery. In Ghana, drones are used for the transportation of blood from one health center to the other. And it's just giving us an idea of how technology is changing the way people work and shaping our lives.
Right. Now, so according to a publication from CNBC, it says that World Economic Forum Future of Jobs report, 78 million new jobs by 2030. Skills gap must be bridged immediately. 78 million new jobs. I think that sounds like a good news, isn't it?
Yep.
Yeah, it's good news. But how many, people will be needing jobs in line with the new jobs that are being created? It's a good question to ask.
Right.
So that we are able to look at it side by side to see if the number of persons or people or the number of jobs that will be needed to, salvage the level of jobs available. If there is some equality between these two, then we know that we don't have a problem. But where especially where the number of people who need jobs are more than the number of jobs available, then globally there's going to be an issue.
Right. So also from the report, you could see that the three key areas of focus are technology, green jobs, and then healthcare. But maybe we can zero in on each of them. We can visit the reports. Maybe you guys can take us through one after the other. Let's talk about each of the jobs that have been listed as the fastest growing jobs, and then we can also look at the green ones amongst them. Then we finally come on the healthcare jobs.
Okay, so we have big data specialists, fintech engineers, and AI and machine learning specialists. What I want to say about this is we need to consider which universities are running courses like this, right? Because based on what you said, that more jobs are going to be created.
Right.
And we know that before we get into the job market, most people need to go to school and maybe have a certain qualification to get to those places. And right now it's like more online platforms are mounting courses for that. So I think we should be considering, if we don't want to be left behind, there needs to be some form of restructuring in our tertiary educational system, especially to mount courses that will cater for these kind of jobs. And so I did a little research, and I found out that for Ghana, we have Academic City University. They are running a course on artificial intelligence. So they have BSc Artificial Intelligence. And then there's also, I think, KNUST, they also do something like that. And then there's also a private school known as Noble International Business School, Ghana. They have Master of FinTech Management. So you can see that gradually some of these universities are trying to mount courses like that. But I think that there's still more that needs to be done. Yeah, so that is...
Yeah, and I agree. I think it's something very very crucial at this point, because if we're still focused on just the art courses, we're not saying art courses should go off, but we need to be focused a bit more on technology. So KNUST, for instance, we should be seeing some of these courses being introduced in some universities like that, and maybe across all our public universities.
I agree.
Yeah, because the universities that you're mentioning, I think Academic City is private. And then
Noble International Business School
is also private.
And I would like to add this, that those such courses should be more practical. It should be more practical. So if based on however they are going to be mounted, it should be more practical, so that students who take such courses, if they come out, they'll be able to apply them, because it means that they are going to be on demand like a lot. So when you are high, you don't may have time to now come and learn and all that. So if it's structured and it's more practical oriented, when they come out, they'll be able to fit better in the job market.
Okay, so we can still go through them. Ima, maybe you want to mention a few of them and highlight.
I want to come home.
Okay.
The current president has stated his ministry that he's going to work with. There was one that I paid close attention to: Ministry of Energy and Green Transition. Did you see that? I don't know if you saw that.
Yeah, I've seen it. I've seen it. I think it's one of the.
We have another Ministry of Communication, Digital Technology and Innovation. And that really, for me, is in line with what we are talking about. The future of jobs is around technology, green jobs, and healthcare. And you can see how the ministry, the government intends to work with, fits well into these. Now, green transition is important, and today it's an emerging issue. Students all over the world, a lot of the projects they are doing is focused on carbon emissions, green energy, green finance, and what have you. And that is why I think it's important. And we are moving towards an age or a dispensation where you need or you ought to work in a way that is environmentally friendly and all of that. So in addition to the courses being offered in schools, I am particularly interested on the opportunities that will be available within our country in line with green transition, the Ministry of Green Transition. I want to see really what is going to be put on the table and how it's going to bring businesses along. I want to see what banks are going to do. I want to see what other institutions are going to do. And I want to see how it's going to generally impact our country. And so for our young ones out there, in addition to what my dear sister said, I want to say that you do not need necessarily to be in school to learn AI, to learn something about technology and all of that.
Very important.
YouTube, there are lots of things there that you can learn. Khan Academy, Udemy, Coursera. There are so many online courses you can take and better yourself. The good thing is that your knowledge of technology is not something about you writing exams and passing. It is something you can do. When we give you the chance, you should be able to deliver. It is an area that allows you to innovate, bring something to the table. You don't need someone to hold your hand to do it. You can do it on your own wherever you are. And so for me, I think this is the time for young people to rise and bring out the potentials in them. Learn online and deliver for all of us to see. And everyone will come on board to support you.
Right, and everyone will come on board to support you. Because I believe that if people are able to acquire these skills, it will really help. In line with the jobs that have been mentioned. So maybe we can just still continue mentioning a few of them that we want to highlight. And just because you mentioned President Mahama's new ministry, I think he's also created a ministry for young people, which was there, in line with sports and all of that, but now he separated it, and now there's the Ministry of Youth Development and Youth Empowerment. So I believe strongly that maybe this ministry will target some initiatives that will help young people along these lines, and we hope that government takes this up and they are able to work around it. But then the question I want to ask is that now, of course, the report highlights green jobs like renewable energy engineers as some of the fastest growing roles. But what strategies can governments and businesses adopt like to bridge the skills gap in the green economy? I don't know if Emmanuel, you want to mention something. Talk about something like that.
Well, government's role in bridging the skill gap, for me, from the way I look at it, it's a bit minimal because really, it is really the private sector and institutions, private institutions, and in fact, schools, education institutions, maybe that is where the work must start from. Yeah, because to bridge the skill gap for a certain class of people, for instance, if today I take a laptop to my dad to now go and teach him certain things that he doesn't originally know, it's going to take a long time for him to adapt or to get to know it well. And so I think for a lot of the skill gap, the target should be on the younger people, the younger generation. We must know this. I think it shouldn't be acceptable that you meet a young person who cannot use their laptop, their mobile phone to do certain basic things. It shouldn't be acceptable. We must move towards an era where coding is normal. Every young person can code. Every young person can use Python to develop infographics and what have you. Every young person knows how to develop JavaScript and all of that. These things should be normal. And we don't need to be in the classroom to learn this. I think individuals, the young persons, the young generation, we must see to it that we develop ourselves in this area. Learning coding, C++, and what have you should be something that should be part of our personal resolutions for a month, for a quarter, for a year. By the end of this year, I want to learn how to code this. I want to learn how to do this. In whatever area you find yourself, you may be a lawyer, you may be a law student, you may be a pharmacy student, you may be being a different discipline. You may not be necessarily doing IT, cyber security, and what have you, but you should make it a personal endeavor to learn these, to get acquainted with these, to develop yourself. See, you will be a wonderful lawyer if in addition to your luminary, your legal status, you can code. You know how to use Python to get work done in the area of AI and technology and what have you. You have learned a bit of robotics, remote sensing, and all of that. You would stand out. Certainly you will stand out. And you will not be priced out as the world moves on. And so governments may have some work to do in terms of policy and all of that. But I think individuals must take a personal initiative to work harder at this and to develop their own skill sets.
Yeah, and I maybe there's a parent listening to us right now this morning. What we are saying is that you need to make sure that your children are abreast with some technological tools. That is where the world is going. So if you don't encourage your ward, if you don't ensure that your ward or your child stays abreast with some of these things, you will find out that your children will be struggling in a few years to come, because people have had conversations about how the system actually works now. You know, people say that you go to school, basic school, go to the senior high school, and then the university, and then once you are done, you are looking for an office job. Yeah, but we are moving away from that. Today, there are people that are into technological work, or maybe they are in the technology space, and they are working from home, and they are earning dollars even in Ghana. Emmanuel, I think you know something like that.
Oh, yes.
There are so many people like that, and that is where, go ahead.
I am in Ghana. Sometimes I do some work that are US-based. It depends on you and the kind of niche you carve for yourself and how you develop yourself. You need it. You need it, not just because you want to make money or something, but I mean, the way the world is going, you cannot afford to miss out on this. You'll be priced out. When I say you'll be priced out, all I mean is that you'll be relevant to the growing trends and demands of the world. See, when you leave Ghana today and you settle in another continent, you should still be relevant. Cleaning a car alone is not sufficient. Knowing how to, memorize things as in those in school and all of it's not sufficient. Your ability to deliver, your ability to use what the world gives you now to produce what the world needs is important.
Right.
It is really, really important. Today, the literature is talking about digital nomad. There are people living in different parts of the world, working elsewhere, and earning money like you are saying. And these are the kind of things young people should be thinking about. What can my relevance be? What would my relevance be in Israel? What would my relevance be in the United States? It's a global competition. It is not a competition in the Ashanti region, in the Greater Accra region. It's not a local contest. It's not a Ghanaian competition. The world has become a global village, and this has not been today. It has been since the 2000s.
Right.
And so you should know that things are far advanced, and for you to be competitive as a global fund, you need more than you have now. And so I don't know, but today my advocacy is really on the young people. You need to develop yourself. Don't wait for somebody to do it for you. If you're a mother, your children are young, you need to start exposing them to these things and look at the future that way. This is how the future is shaped. It is not in the memorization of things. It is in the application of the things that have been memorized. And it is in the application of what the world needs today. Solve the world's challenge, and you'll be known for it. And I think that is where the future lies.
Solve the world's challenge, and you'll be known for it. I like that. I think I should write that quote down. Yeah, but it's very important. Maybe Rebecca, you want to touch on what the government can do?
I think that this report should be something that the government pays attention to, and they should invest more in the areas that are being listed as the jobs that are going to be on the rise in some 5 years to come. So like Emmanuel mentioned about the green jobs or the green economy, we've also spoken a little bit about AI. Sometimes these things, they may seem a bit expensive. And already government has a lot on their table, but they should think about tomorrow, right? And Africa, we are blessed with a very youthful population, including Ghana. So if we know that unemployment is a big issue in this country, which various governments are trying to introduce various interventions to deal with it. So this, by focusing on the areas that this report is highlighting, the government will be in the long run be catering to some of these issues and even be curbing the issue of unemployment in some years to come. So I think government should focus on some of the sectors that have been mentioned here. And I think Emmanuel mentioned that our current president, based on the list of ministries that were brought, some of these areas have already been captured. So we just hope that they are going to do more work so that at the end of the day would have something positive from there. But away from that, I wanted to mention university and higher education teachers. They were enlisted somewhere in the middle when you look at the ranking of the jobs. And I think in Emmanuel's submission, he mentioned the fact that the universities have a major role to play when it comes to bridging the skill gap. So if they have been, they didn't just say teachers, they said university and higher education teachers. And if you look at where they've been placed, they are somewhere getting to the top. So it means that in some years to come, these people are also going to be relevant. And I think that there's a saying that you cannot teach what you don't know. Right? So they can't teach the young people to have this, because if they themselves they are not willing to learn or to even advance their teaching methodologies and all that. And it's also like a holistic approach. The university as a whole needs to look at the whole thing. How can we make teaching and learning even more easier and more enjoyable for the students that we are having? So I think that the university tertiary education teachers, it's a wake-up call to them that in some years to come, we are also going to be very relevant. How do we go about our activities so that at the end of the day, we are imparting something positive and making sure that the young people that we are training or we are preparing, they are ready for the job market.
Right, they're ready for the job market. And so on what governments can do, you mentioned that they should invest in these spaces, which is very important. I think businesses also have a role to play. Businesses should be able to engage in teaching their people, their workers, how to, reskilling. They should put up reskilling initiatives really, and collaborate with educational institutions to, for lack of, maybe as it were, to align the curricula with the demands of the green economy, which are very important. Now, in the report, there are fastest growing jobs.
Okay.
And also there are largest growing jobs. Yeah, there's a difference between the two. There are largest growing jobs. Now, so the largest growing jobs are farm workers, laborers, and other agricultural workers, which is very, very important because those ones AI can't do.
Yeah.
So if you are interested in agric, maybe you are not just interested in, usually when we talk about, Ima, maybe you are with me. When we talk about agriculture, people think is only becoming a farmer, that's the end. But there are a lot of things in the value chain when it comes to agric. And so people should begin to really rethink about which areas to go even in the agric sector. Now, so they talk about light truck or delivery service drivers. AI can't do that. And so maybe not yet.
Did you see the Ministry of, I think,
Ima, I'm struggling to hear you. I don't know if... Can you position yourself well a bit?
Can you hear me?
Yes, loud and clear, yes.
I'm asking if you did see the Ministry of Trade, Agribusiness and Industry. There is an agribusiness in there.
Right.
It used to be the Ministry of Trade and Industry. But now I see the new president, our president has introduced Ministry of Trade, Agribusiness and Industry. Agribusiness is something that has been done or is being done in almost a lot of the universities in Ghana. They've been studying it for a while. And I am particularly grateful to God that the president is now giving special emphasis to it. Right. I am still looking forward to the policies that will come out and how it's going to benefit our young people, how it's going to benefit all of us in this country. And you are spot on. The agricultural value chain, like somebody says it is from farm to fork.
Farm to what?
Fork.
Fork.
From the farmland to fork.
Okay.
To your mouth.
Right.
Yeah, I wrote a paper some time ago, and that was how I started my discussion. It's everything within that bracket. Acquisition of the land to the food gets into your stomach. And so, and lot is within that thing. But people just think it is about farm. No. Right from farm to fork. And so that is where the youth should be looking at. We should focus on everything within that process.
Right. So very, very, very important. Now, so some of the other largest jobs that are growing is the software and application developers. It means that it is not just the fastest growing, it is also part of the largest growing one. Now, building framers, finishers, and trade workers. Maybe not yet. AI cannot do, robots cannot do this. So if you want to go into a particular space, you are good at stuff like that, you may want to consider that space. Now, also, one of the largest growing areas is the food processing and related trade workers. Car, van, and motorcycle riders, drivers, nursing professionals. Nursing is actually very, very good these days, because I think I see a lot of young people. You ask somebody what they want to do in future. I want to be a nurse, and sometimes it feels a bit monotonous. But then again, looking at this report, it is obvious that nursing is also something that is good, because I think there's been publications quite recently about Ghana trying to export some nurses to other countries and all of that. I don't know how that ended, but it is becoming something that is very, very, very important. Now, there are also general and operations managers, social work and counseling professionals, university and higher education teachers, personal care aides. So the obvious thing among these things is the fact that they are all frontline workers.
Yeah.
People that interact with other people. Iman, do you see that in what I'm sharing? Emmanuel. Hello, Emmanuel.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Yeah, so, please take that again.
Yeah, so I'm saying that from all the things that we are seeing, from the largest growing jobs, because we see counseling, we see the likes of social work, we see shop salespersons, food processing, nursing, and all of that. All of these things are things that has got to do with frontline workers.
Yes.
So it is a very good space to look at, because I see university and higher education teachers, I see secondary education teachers, personal care aides, and all of that as part of the largest growing jobs.
Yes.
Yeah. So it is something very important that we must encourage other people to look at. Now,
exactly. But from my background as well, anything that is largest in terms of job, it means a lot of people are
going there. That's true.
And for us, surface competition doesn't give you the most yield.
Right.
We want to be a bit unique.
Right.
And so, in addition to finding yourself there, we still want to use this platform to advocate that. Also, find yourself in the things that are distinct and unique, but relevant to the demands of the job market today.
Yeah, very relevant to the job market today. So some of the other ones, maybe we can just mention a few of them because of time, and then we talk about a bit about the skills as well.
Okay.
So the ones that are declining, which I think people should know, because if you know the one that is growing and you don't know the one that is declining, you will find yourself struggling. Yes. Yes. I see legal officials. Now, what do you mean by legal officials, though?
Oh, I think they are the officers, not necessarily the lawyers.
The lawyers.
But the officers who work at the court and all do some typing and those things. I'm sure they are the ones who fall within this bracket. I mean, when I see it, I just think of someone whose work can be done by a robot. Someone whose work is now not needed as much.
Right.
The last time we went through one like personal assistant, executive secretary, and those. I don't know if you remember.
Yeah, I remember.
The last time, and now when you look at that, you realize that, wow, if you were just training yourself to become someone's personal assistant, the time is coming. The time has come already that now robots are assigned to people or AI technologies are assigned to you. Imagine you had a phone or a laptop that you can tell it, today I'm going to do this, that, at this time, and you record it, keep reminders of it, and keeps reminding you. It is inbuilt in your car, it's on your phone, it's on your laptop, and just reminds you, I want you to write this report for me. It's a chat box. You always have this kind of engagement and conversation with.
Right.
As I speak to you, that is the technology someone somewhere is developing. And is willing to come and commercialize it. People are going to buy into it. And that is even more efficient as compared to your personal assistant. You may not need to be paying it month on month and all of that. And it can even keep your secrets better. That is just on the lighter side. And it just tells you why some of these professions or offices are becoming a bit more obsolete and being replaced by technology today.
Right. Well, if you're still tuned into you're still tuned into Zed 101.9 FM, and there's a business breakfast on Zed. Today we are talking a bit more about the World Economic Forum Future of Jobs report, because we believe that a lot of people are unemployed and they are looking for opportunities. We think that this is an opportunity for you to know some of the things in that report, and then you can be able to prepare yourself adequately, because by 2030 there are certain jobs that you may be considering today that may not matter anymore, because technology has taken over, because green transition has taken over, and other indicators have taken over those sectors. So you're still listening to Business Breakfast. You can join us on our social media. We are on Instagram, Facebook, and X at ZFMGH, and then on YouTube and TikTok we are Z Multimedia. You want to join the conversation over WhatsApp on 0544 321019 0544 321019 0544 321019. You can text us and then we will make sure to read your message or maybe address your questions. Yeah, Rebecca, you have something to say.
I wanted to make a contribution based on what Emmanuel said. He said that the time has already come, and I want to even make reference to one of the jobs enlisted under the top largest declining jobs. So something like customer service, client information and customer service workers. Right now, when you go to most organizations, when you go to their website, they have this AI-generated chat box that you can just, in fact, you don't even need to go looking for it. It just pops up and asks you, is there anything that you need help with? So you are chatting with it like a human being. So you ask any question, it will respond to you immediately. So that thing is already here, like as he mentioned already. And he also said something about, even with the largest growing jobs, if you find yourself in that particular sector, you need to make yourself distinct. Yeah, so it's like there is something for everyone. Like even if your job is enlisted as something that is you should watch out for, you still need to do something to make sure that you are standing out in whatever field that you find yourself in. And the jobs that have been enlisted as declining jobs, if we look carefully and critically, we realize that in fact the time has already come. So we all need to up our game.
All right, so let's now move to the skills that we need to be able to work in the future. All right, so maybe you can go through them one after the other, and then we talk a bit more about that. So what skills do people need in the future? Emmanuel?
Yes, so analytical thinking is on top of the list. The last time we tried touching on that.
Yeah.
You know, the whole thing about working is not just following routine. It's about solving problems, difficult problems. And just to make a bit of illustration, I was privileged yesterday to be in church, and my pastor was speaking about how Daniel was skilled in every literature, and even went on to speak about the CV of Daniel that was given to the king for him to be appointed to come and interpret the dream. And it will amaze you. The six things that he had an excellent spirit, he had knowledge, he had insight, he had the ability to interpret dreams and to solve riddles and explain enigmas or difficult situations. And that tells you that was what made him stand out and qualified to be able to serve the king or do what the king expected of him. And today it is no different. If you can't solve a difficult situation, nobody wants you, because the usual things, the routine tasks, AI can do it. Robotics can do that. Is that not the case? Robotics can do routine tasks. We watch videos today and we think it's just an animation or something, but these things are real. Robots are preparing noodles. Robots are serving people in restaurants and hotels. Now we need people to think. So one of the skills that as a young person, anyone in the job market, you should aim at is you are able to think critically, to think objectively, to look at all situations and make a thorough analysis for you to recommend really an accurate future prediction. Your prediction must be precise and accurate. You must not miss it. And your thinking must be apt. It must be spot on. That is a skill that you need. That is a skill that is not merely taught in the classroom. It is something that you must work at critically. In addition to that, not just analytical thinking, but creative thinking, innovative thinking, thinking outside the box, thinking outside the ordinary. You must have a surpassing, extraordinary mindset, a mindset that is beyond what every other person will think. So if everybody is looking at this, lift the veil, go beyond it. And I think that is what the world needs today. And maybe finally, technological literacy. You need that as well. You need to be technologically literate. And maybe today, like we say, organizations are not just looking for aptitude in terms of your qualification, but also attitude. So soft skills are also another thing to add to all of this. And I think these skills are relevant for the job market today.
Analytical skills, creative thinking, and technological literacy. Be technologically literate. Make sure that you know what goes on in the world of technology. You know how to use basic MS Word, basic Excel, some basic things in the technological space. Rebecca, what do you have?
Yeah, so in addition to what Emmanuel said, so I'm making reference to Forbes. So last year they released 6 essential skills that they believe that people should have for the next decade if they want to stay relevant in the job market. One of the things that I want to say, which Emmanuel has not mentioned, is flexibility. So you need to be flexible, open to change. It may be that when you went to school, you were taught to do things a certain kind of way, but then whatever space that you find yourself, you should be flexible, open to change, and then being adaptable to the work environment, so that whatever resources and tools are available, you can easily work with them and make some positive impact. There should also be continuous learning and self-development. Someone who is open to learning, unlearning, relearning, and looking out for opportunities to develop yourself. And we've already established here that learning doesn't only have to happen in a classroom, right? So even in your workplace, with an internship, whatever opportunity you have, there is an opportunity for you to learn and then improve yourself. So it's also a skill that we all should have one way or the other. Then one of the things enlisted here is also emotional intelligence. Emotional intelligence is very, very vital to know how to separate personal issues from work or from business, so that it doesn't affect your delivery at work. We know that we are people, things get to us and all that, but you should learn how to manage your emotions. I think there's even a book. I mean, there are resources you can go to teach you some of these things, so that at the end of the day you are still relevant wherever you find yourself. And then the final one I want to touch on is leadership and social influence. Leadership and social influence. We are in an age where you don't be thinking that, okay, for me, I only want to be in the background, don't want to accept any like higher responsibility and all that. It's not going to help. So you should see yourself as a leader and someone who is capable. If only you know what you have and you are constantly developing yourself, you should be able to lead certain projects, and you should also have some influence or some impact wherever you find yourself. Yeah, so these are the few things, skills that I believe that we need to have: flexibility, continuous learning and development, and then emotional intelligence, as well as leadership and social influence.
Yeah. Right. So you mentioned a particular book. I've read the book on emotional intelligence by Daniel Goleman. It's a very, very good book. So if you're listening to us, you may want to go check out that book, Emotional Intelligence. It's a very good book. You'll open your mind as to how to relate in certain situations. And of course, your emotional intelligence also helps your relationships. How you are able to deal with people, whether it is in a maybe marriage, boyfriend, girlfriend, your dating relationship, or whatever relationship you find yourself in. These are things that that's the emotional intelligence, something that will help you a lot. So you may want to consider looking out for that. Now, one other skill that was mentioned is curiosity and lifelong learning. And I think it's something Emmanuel is very much passionate about. Ima, I know that is something you're very much passionate about.
Lifelong learning.
Right.
Yes, that is the essence of learning. That is all you ought to do if you're a student and whoever you are. You can't stop learning. You stop learning, you die. I think that we must understand, especially I want to speak to the young persons who are in school and are listening to us. If you are in school, you being in school and your learning is not all about just making grades. Making grades will go. See, today, someone sees you, nobody cares about what really your class was, how many A's or B's you got. What you are is a byproduct of what you've learned and accumulated over time. And at every point in time, it is who you are that we look at. There are a lot of people who are making great impact, who may not necessarily were the best students in their schools, or however you put it. But it is because they have devoted themselves to lifelong learning. They are learning every time, every day. You learn something. And lifelong learning also involves learning things outside the scope of what you are studying in school. It goes beyond just what you are being taught. It also includes the things that are not necessarily within your field. It goes outside your field. But you must just have that devotion, that love and passion to continue learning, adapting to changes. I'm an accountant. The International Financial Reporting Standards, they keep changing year after year. If I don't devote myself to lifelong learning, I'll be priced out. When someone gives me some work to do, I'll still be stuck with the old standards of doing accounting. And that will be totally wrong. It will not be accepted. So you must stay committed to learning every day. All of us, we ought to be learning every day. The moment you stop learning, I think your life will end there. You become old in your thinking. Right. You become old in the way you do your things, and I think that ends it for you.
Right, that ends it for you. So, Rebecca, you have something to touch on?
Yeah, another vital skill I want to mention is interpersonal or communication skills. Yeah, it's very important. In fact, from the report that Forbes gave, they are saying that as they said, as remote work and global teams become more prevalent, strong communication skills will be essential for managing and working within diverse teams. Right. So they are recognizing that yes, these technological tools that are coming up is likely to breach communication, and so one skill you need is to learn how to be an effective communicator. And communication, we know, is not just opening your mouth to just talk, right? So you need to know the people you are talking to. You need to know the kind of words you need to use. You need to know what to do if you err. And so communication skills are very, very vital. And it is sad that we have many people today that lack these skills. They think just because they can open their mouth and say something, they are good to go. But then you can even take your time and even learn something about it, like how to organize your thoughts, how to deal with a particular situation, how to approach people. These are things that you can learn so that when the time comes, you will find yourself being very relevant or being an effective communicator. And once again, to touch on the concepts of young people today, they are very good. They can text a message on WhatsApp. They can say things, but if you ask them to say it orally, they have difficulty. Right. So that is where they also need to pay attention to their verbal communication skills that you need to work on. Verbal communication skills that you need to work on. So this is also something is essential that we should all look at if you want to stay relevant in the job market. Yeah. Right.
And I think that has also got to do with one of the skills that has been listed here, which has got to do with service, customer service. So they are telling us that we need to focus on customer service, how to relate with other people, even at the offices. Yeah. Ima, let me come to you. Is there any other skill you want to talk on? Emmanuel? Hello, Emmanuel.
Yes, Raphael.
Yes. So I'm asking if there are other skills you want to say something about.
For me, I think the ones I'm passionate about, I mean, there are a lot of other skills in the report, but the ones I'm passionate about are exhausted.
Okay. All right. So it's still Business Breakfast on Zed, and it's exactly 35 minutes past the hour 9. We're going to go for a spot of music, and then when we return, we try and finalize our thoughts on the report. Hopefully, we get to say a few other things that we need to say. So please stay tuned with us. We'll be right back.
Your lifestyle, leisure, and business radio.
Zed 101.9 FM.
Your love just blew my mind. love that's so true, yeah. And what wrong? Yes, what do you need more? Send you was it done with the way he loves me, yes, so. Send you was it done with the way you love me, yes, so. Oh, tear down, tear down. Yes, you don't hear me, tear down, tear down, tear down. Yes, you don't hear me, tear down, say. Tear down, tear down, tear down. Yes, you don't hear me, tear down, tear down, tear down. Yes, you don't hear me, tear down. Cause I love like you, but I love so true. Yeah, 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 yeah. And we're wrong, it's what do me and what wrong.
While you're still listening to Business Breakfast on Zed 101.9 FM. And a song in the background is Calclotti. It's called this one's Dead Dell.
Stay tuned to your lifestyle, leisure, and business radio.
My beginning and my end, no way. Jesus, moment. The one my super lover. Ooh, although you mean shadow. My beginning and my end, no way. Jesus, moment. The one my super lover. My super lover. Although you mean shadow. Been shabby done. My beginning and my end, no way. Jesus, moment. Jesus, moment. It's a mole. It's a mole. It's a mole.
101.9 FM.
While you're still listening to Business Breakfast on Zed 101.9 FM with me, Raphael Trebi Hammond. I'm having a conversation with Rebecca and Emmanuel, who's joining us over the phone lines. We're going to wrap up the conversation and then we take you straight to Parliament, where there's a vetting going on of the ministers designate for finance, legal affairs, and then energy. So Emmanuel and then Rebecca, maybe we'll take your final thoughts. So what do you think we should do? But first of all, Rebecca, do you think that there are some negative effects that this transition into a more technological world will have on either us or parents?
Yeah, for me, I would say it's going to bring a little bit of more financial burden. Parents will not have to invest more in their children, helping them to acquire some of these technological tools and all that. Averagely in Ghana, before even someone owns a phone, some parents believe you are going to the university or SHS before you can even get a phone. But based on this report, it means that you may need to get your child a phone or a laptop at an earlier age, which you may not be prepared for. So there is this financial burden that this report is projecting. But then you just have to weigh the options and also guide your child and then know when to give them some of these things when the time approaches. Yeah.
Right. Okay, let me go to Emmanuel. Emmanuel, please, your final thoughts. Hello, Emmanuel. Hello, Emmanuel. Yeah, your final thoughts.
Yeah, my final thoughts. There is a Bible study I usually have. And the question you asked, Rebecca,
right,
is just like this. The cost of you failing to match up with the technological changes and growth is more than what you would have to pay to do that. So what you pay to access technology, to develop yourself with AI and all of that, cannot be compared to what you earn if you do that. Or if you flip it, the price you are going to pay, if you fail to do it today, it's more than the price you are going to pay if you do it today. And so we should measure what we want to do now. The future of jobs has emphasized the rapidly transforming global labor market, which is driven largely by technology, climate change, and demographic shifts. For Ghanaians, this is a call to action. Parents should encourage their children to pursue education with skills in technology, renewable energy, and healthcare in order to secure future jobs. And for students, embrace lifelong learning, like we have said. Invest in acquiring tech-related skills like AI, cybersecurity, and the rest of them. And then government prioritize policies that support inclusive job creation, especially in growing sectors like the renewable energy sector, healthcare, and technology. And then for the public, recognize that the world of work is changing. You need to stay informed, adapt to emerging trends, and leverage Ghana's youthful population to capitalize on global opportunities, particularly in tech and green industries.
All right. Thank you so much, Emmanuel. Thank you for joining us for this very important conversation. I think we've educated listeners. We've given them some relevant information that they need to thrive in the coming years. And Rebecca, thank you so much for also joining the conversation.
Thank you.
I am really grateful that you both joined me. So that brings us to the end of today's edition of the Business Breakfast on Zed 101.9 FM with me, Raphael Nitrebi Hammond. Thank you so much for spending your morning with me. I hope you enjoy the insights, the updates, and the conversations as much as I have always enjoyed bringing them to you. Don't forget to stay with us here on Zed 101.9 FM. And don't forget to join us again tomorrow morning for another exciting show. Until then, please stay informed, stay inspired, and continue learning. Have a productive day. Up next, we're taking you to Parliament where there's the vetting going on for the minister's